And welcome back. Today we have on Steve Geit. He is the CEO of Saddleback Memorial Medical Center. Nice to have you here.
Great to be here, Ken. Thank you.
And we just saw that ad we put up about the health grades received by Saddleback Memorial. And tell me exactly what the health grades are all about. How do they figure that out? What is the organization that does this?
Sure. Well, Health Grades is an independent organization. It's a public rating agency, basically. What's happening is more and more people are interested in finding out how healthcare providers stack up. And so we provide lots of data, publicly available data about our clinical outcomes to CMS, which is Medicare, and rating agencies like Health Grades or Leapfrog, there are many, take those data and massage them, put them into their formula and spit out the results in the form of ratings. Some people rate us with a letter grade like an A or a B or a C. Health Grades does it a little differently, but what they're comparing is clinical outcomes data and patient satisfaction data, all of which are public data. So everything we do, we submit those data to CMS, and then that data becomes then available for others to see. So the idea is for the public to become more aware of how their hospitals and their physicians are doing from an outcome standpoint.
So does this organization contact the patients after they've been in the medical center, or how do they get the patient's information, their opinions, I should say?
So all of the data it doesn't have patient names on it, but it's all aggregated and sent into CMS, so into the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So those data become then publicly available. So the idea is it's the overall outcomes data.
Okay.
So it's not individual patient data. Individual patients will fill out patient satisfaction surveys. We use a company called Avatar. All hospitals do this, required by Medicare. And so they compare, again, those satisfaction data and how they stack up amongst all the 5,500 hospitals in the country.
Okay, so. And where does Saddleback Memorial Medical Center stack up?
Well, we did pretty well this year. For the last 3 years, we've actually been in the top 5%, in the top 100 hospitals. Health Grades calls it America's best, 100 best hospitals. And in 2015, we were designated as one of America's 50 best hospitals. And again, it's just comparing how we actually score on data. It's not a test. We don't take a test. It's more just the data that we submit publicly. So, and what Health Grades does is look at a whole variety of categories, not just sort of overall hospital care, but a number of subcategories, things that we look at specifically, like heart attacks and heart failure and critical care and pulmonary disease. And so Saddleback scored very, very well, and over a period of time. So the way you achieve these awards, if you will, is to do it consistently over years and years.
Right.
So, for example, and I got a little crib note here, but we actually received what they call 5-star designations, some of the better outcomes data for heart attack, heart failure, colorectal surgeries, GI bleed, hip fracture treatment, total knee replacement, diabetic emergencies, pneumonia, pulmonary embolism, and sepsis. And so these are things that consistently we do well with a special designation of excellence in critical care and pulmonary care. So we see a lot of people that are very ill end up in our critical care unit. We do that particularly well. Saddleback's been around for just over 40 years, and we serve this community, and happy to say that we do it particularly well in these areas, and that's what we've been recognized for. So that's good.
Very good. And Health Grades, as you said, it's national, right?
It is.
So they look at everything everywhere.
Yeah, more than 5,000 hospitals in the country.
Wow,
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And what has been kind of the impact with the staff, the physicians? They got to be pretty proud of all this.
Well, we have amazing doctors in this community. We have great staff. We have over 800 doctors and over 2,000 employees. And so that's an affirmation for them that this is what we're aiming to do. We're aiming to provide exceptional care to every patient we see. And so when we receive an award like this, it's a pat on the back. It's a objective affirmation that when we say we want to be the best, we want to be perfect, this helps us understand that we're in the right direction.
Very good.
We set out on this path 10 or 12 years ago as we began to implement things like electronic medical records. The idea was to collect more data, to be able to move the needle in the right direction.
Right.
So and this award simply is an affirmation. We're not out to receive awards, but when we get them, we certainly are pleased to get them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And tell me about the great program you have there with volunteers and donors. It's been part of the medical center over there since its inception.
No
right?
question. I've been at Saddleback. Entering into my 35th year, and I have an appreciation for what's been able to be accomplished there. And it just simply wouldn't be possible without the support of the community we get. The hospital was actually built back in the days when the community rallied to develop that hospital in the late 60s. And that continues to this day. So the things we're able to do, the programs we're able to develop, we recently developed the Memorial Care Cancer Institute at Saddleback in the space next to the post office, and that was largely developed as a result of the support from the community, the philanthropic support. We have over 500 volunteers there, and it's just all about making the patient and family experience better. And again, I just can't even imagine how we could accomplish that without the support of the community, both financially as well as the volunteer support we get. They're an essential part of the team.
What about the volunteers? Does somebody have to have a medical background?
No.
What are the type of volunteer positions are there?
Well, I mean, there's a number of them. You know, there are volunteers who staff our gift shop. There are volunteers who help transport patients to and fro. We have a program called Compassionate Listeners. We have several hundred employees who basically spend time at the bedside and read and talk to patients and their family members so that they just don't feel alone. And those are the kind of programs that make a big difference when it comes to how people view the experience of their care. So we're there to take care of people's clinical needs. We're also there to help them through it. And so the volunteers are a big part of that. And not just the patients, but their family members as well.
You mentioned you've been there for about 35 years.
Right.
What are some of the major changes you've seen? And I'm not talking about, of course, the advancements in all medical fields, but in the way patients are treated. I would think years ago, most hospital stays were much longer than they are now.
Exactly.
And the recognition of people want to be at home.
Right. We've always had a very strong home care program and hospice program, but the biggest change is just the evolution of technology that's allowed us to take care of patients outside of the hospital. When I first got to Saddleback in 1981, the single busiest admitting physician we had was an ophthalmologist by the name of Norm Peterson. Dr. Peterson was very popular, but in those days we would admit a cataract a patient having a cataract procedure for 2 days in the hospital.
Wow.
So he admitted 1,000 patients a year. That's 2,000 patient days. Now, you know, those are all office-based procedures now.
Yes.
And that's happened not just with ophthalmology, but it's happened with general surgery and orthopedic surgery, where things that were once long 3 or 4 day stays, laparoscopic prostatectomies and all kinds of things that were 3 or 4 day stays are now outpatients. So whole categories of patients can be seen now in a different setting, less expensive, more user-friendly, and we're very involved in that. We do about 20,000 surgical procedures a year at Saddleback, and 2,000 of them are done in the hospital. The rest of them are done in an outpatient surgery center, the four outpatient surgery centers that we actually have. So that's a big deal as we're trying to find ways to make healthcare more affordable, to make it more user-friendly, to make it better. And the evolution of technology and the push to care outside of the hospital is very important. And that's a journey we're going to continue to be on. So, and as a result of these outcomes rewards or awards, we know we're doing the right thing.
And also when it comes to the technology of communication, both within your facility there, back to the patient, and also maybe other physicians or pharmacies that they're using beyond Saddleback, right?
We're trying to connect electronically as much as we can. The clinical information, I can open my cell phone and look up my latest lab results and other things that are all plugged in through our electronic medical record. So we want to make the patients part of the team. We want them to be more involved in their care. That is part of why we have organizations like Health Grades that rate organizations so we can help people make better informed decisions about how they receive their care and who they receive their care from.
Yeah, it's fascinating how far that's become, even to the point where now, and certainly more in the future, you'll be able to monitor outpatients just by what they're wearing on their wrist and get some vital information on a continual basis.
Right. Yeah, I can tell you how many steps I've had today on my little device I've got
exactly.
on my wrist here. So, and we're very engaged in wanting people to take a stronger role in their own health. Yeah. So that's the biggest change that we're dealing with, is focusing on health rather than sickness, trying to prevent things from happening rather than waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest change in the medical industry everywhere over the last 10 years. It's keeping well rather than being proactive rather than reactive.
Absolutely, and I can tell you from my generation of the baby boomers, there's 75 million of us that are all barreling down the path towards getting much older, and we just need to find a different way of providing care because by the time 2040 rolls around and there's 75 million of us that are going to be pushing 90 and 95.
Yeah.
We have to find better ways to provide that care. There's simply not enough money to do it the way we've always done it. So this shift to outpatient, this shift to health is all part of the movement that is very, very positive in my view.
Yeah. If someone wants to volunteer, how do they contact you folks? The website that I have on the screen, by the way, I have is memorialcare.org.
Correct.
SB Top 50, that's going to talk about your recognition.
Right.
But overall, if someone wants to get a hold of the volunteer or donor program there, what's the best way to do that?
Well, you can do that through our website at memorialcare.org. There's ways to link up to the volunteer services.
So go to the main one.
We have a volunteer office that's on the main floor of the medical center, and you can certainly stop by, and there'll be people there to receive you. I think people would rather talk to individuals necessarily than the computer itself. So there's lots of ways to be able to plug in. The foundation offices for donations are there, and they can also be accessed through our website or in person at the foundation offices on the first floor of the Saddleback Medical Tower. So.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on.
My
it's
pleasure.
great to see you. Hope to see you again soon.
It will be my pleasure.
And congratulations about the recognition from Health Grades.
Thank you. We're
It's
very
very
pleased.
good. I bet you are.
Yeah.
And congratulations really to the entire staff over there because you all deserve it.
Exactly.
And of course the volunteers that help out too.
Exactly.
It's all part of it.
It's a team effort.
Steve, nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right, you take care.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
be back.